Hello, good afternoon. Can you just give me the sharing options so I can talk?
Sukaina, you can start. Hi, Sukaina.
If its screen sharing option is not available,
Oh, is it?
it's disabled.
Now it's all working?
Yeah, thank you. Hello, good afternoon, and Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm Sukaina Hussain Ibrahim from Learning Lab. I'm working as a remedial therapist and a behavior therapist, and I train the teachers for special needs as well. So today my topic is just going to touch about the creating an inclusive classroom. How can we have an inclusive classroom being in a mainstream school? So let's go through the slide and I'll explain it to you. And you can add on your queries in between the chat or the live stream. Thanks. Now, what is inclusion? That's something is really deep, and there are a lot of terms come under the umbrella of inclusion. Let's check. Inclusion ensures all students learn together in the same classroom, of course, but whenever they need necessary support, right, and they need to be accommodated, it should be provided to them. Suppose if there is a classroom and we have a majority of neurotypical kids, in between, if you have 2, 3 neurodivergent kids, what your strategy should be. So first, it's about we are including the students, right? And then second is about what are the learning difficulties? What kind of the learners or struggling students we can have in our classroom? And at the end, I'm going to give out the tips or let's say the remedies to how to handle them in your classroom. Let's start with dyslexia. Dyslexia basically is a reading disorder. It causes difficulties with word recognition, spellings, and decoding. You must have seen that many times they do the mirror image, reversals of B and D, Q and Q, P, right? And other than that, it's difficult for them to comprehend the information, right? The information is given. And of course, the spelling issue is there. And if you can't comprehend the spelling, if you can't comprehend or decode the word, how you're going to write? All right. So dyslexia, in short, is about difficulties with word recognition, spelling, and decoding them. Next comes our dysgraphia. By the way, whenever I talk about dyslexia, it always reminds me of Tare Zameen Pe. What a catch it was. It's still amazing. So dysgraphia basically covers the writing disorder. Okay, so you're not going to add the doctor in it, of course. It affects the handwriting, spellings, and organizing the written work. Whatever the written work is, they find it harder to organize their thought while writing. It's not about their IQ level is low, but when it comes to hand-eye coordination or brain and hand coordination, they struggle there. A simple example is there, if you can see, it's really, really, really difficult to read it. And if you can read it, then you are a teacher, right? It says, the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog. Okay, so you can see like you can read, but if there is someone who is struggling, who is a new teacher and doesn't have any knowledge about dysgraphia, they might like mark it with a red pen and untidy handwriting and so on. This is what we see in our society. Let's come to dyscalculia. As the term itself says that it's all about calculation. And whenever we talk about calculation, it covers issues related with math. So you can say a math-related learning disorder. Their number sense affect, they mix up with the sign and basic arithmetic skills, they struggle over there and the concept. And the part which we need to focus on is that whenever there is a word problem, which is asking for multiple things like doing adding and then subtraction, or you're like multiplication and addition together, or subtraction or the division together, they find it difficult. It becomes really, really a problem for them. All right, there are a few signs. Maybe initial year is not enough, but we need to get it diagnosed by professional, because we teachers are not eligible for that. We can just raise the red flags. All right, and of course, communicate it to your management. ADHD, that's disorder marked by ongoing pattern of inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity. All right, it's not always about that they are hyper. Okay, sometimes they are the daydreamer as well. So what happened? They daydream, they are lost because they are struggling to reach the point where the teacher is going to communicate or trying to communicate any new concept, right? So it's not always that if you see a hyperactive child or inattentive child, you can say, no, that's ADHD. There might be different factors. Let me clear one thing. ADHD can be by birth, neurological, genetic, but it can be from the environment, right? So that's why we said that the environment is a third teacher, okay? And as I told you, ADHD is divided into two subtopics, which it's about one who's hyper, the other one who's a daydreamer, right? So it's impulsivity is that. Again, it doesn't mean that the child can't progress, can't give the paper, can't do the classwork, but they might need more time. And if you see the child is hyperactive, so try to give them time, chunk down the information, all right, give them 5 minutes break. This is what we call TB, means task break, task break, task break. So this way you can just, you can say that communicate the information you want to do it, right? If there is 10 minutes task, give them break for 5 minutes. It's very important, all right? And you will see the changes in your classroom. Mostly teachers complain that the child is not in our control and they leave the classroom and they don't listen to us. So here's the point. Be careful. Remember the term TB. Task break, task break, task break every time. And of course, it should be in chunk. Do not give a lot of information on one slab, page, or board and ask them to do it. Best idea is to use different color markers. If they are reading from their own books, they can use highlighter to underline or shade the important information. So when they are going to read the text written there, that's of course in a black, so the highlighted part would pop up. All right, I hope this much is clear. Next, Down syndrome. Now, this is something which is genetic disorder causing developmental delays. Okay. So it's genetic, and whenever it's genetic, um, and this thing, it doesn't need any red flags. It doesn't need any age to be specified. Okay, you are going to get to know about at the age of 7 or 6 or 5 when they are born. And with the advanced technology of ultrasound, during that also, you can detect that the individual is with Down syndrome. And along with that, remember one rule that the personality comes first and the trait comes later. You can't say autistic child, Down syndrome child, ADHD child, dyscalculia child, rather than point out the person. Like, let's say, boy with ADHD, girl with ADHD, or individual with autism or Down syndrome, because personality comes first. All right. And basically, uh, individual with Down syndrome, they are amazing. They are really loving, caring, and they are called happy child. So it's all about extra chromosome. And extra chromosome, for me, extra chromosome mean extra happiness. All right. So, of course, and one more thing, their memory is said to be fish memory. It means they forget the things quicker. So what are you going to do when next day the child is coming to you and they've forgotten the past day, forgetting the past day, the concept. So the best part is reinforcement. We always apply the rule of reinforcement, feedback, extra sheets for those who are neurotypical as well. So why not for neurodiverse? All right. So nothing, you can't say that this thing didn't work. Maybe you need to figure out the learning style. Here comes ASD, that's Autism Spectrum Disorder. It's a developmental disorder affecting communication, right? It affects communication, how a child communicate, how an individual communicate, behavior, of course, behavior and social interaction, right? Again, it has three stages. It can be mild, it can be moderate, and it can be severe. Few red flags are like they might not give you the eye contact, maybe delayed speech, and behavior issues, throwing tantrums, or delayed speech or no speech at all. Maybe you'll find them their meltdown stage where they are crying, they are spinning the toys, they are moving in the room. So here we have to be very careful that you need to first figure out if you have a child with ASD and they are professionally tested. Normally, the symptoms can be seen by the age of 18 months, right? That's why if you see such thing, doctor said wait till child turn 18 or 2 years. So you'll start seeing the symptoms. Symptoms that I told you, they might not like to be hugged or touched. And sensory issues are also there. It's like too much light, they would avoid too much crowd, all right, loud noises, and the texture, the food. Even if you see they would love specific fabric and they can't tolerate that's something which is different. Like, let's see if you're wearing cotton right now and we are comfortable, but a child, an individual with the ASD might not be comfortable with that, right? I've seen a girl who was with a the girl was with ASD and it was so severe that even in summer, hot summer in Karachi, it was July and she was wearing the woolen garment. And the mother said she's not ready to change at all. And she takes the blanket as well. So that's quite tricky and we have to, but remember the rule, early intervention and remediation. These are the factors which can actually help out the child. We can't say that this thing can be removed because it's neurological disorder, but we can manage them easily in our mainstream classrooms. All right. Now come to auditory processing disorder. By the way, by the age of 16 or 18, the total development of auditory processing is completed. I'm talking about here the neurotypical individuals, right? But when it comes to neurodiverse, they might struggle there. So if an adult who's 18 is going to develop the complete auditory processing, so what will happen? In between, when you ever seen that the child is like you were calling a child, please come here, listen to me, do this thing, and they would like lost in their own world. It's not about that they are not taking your command, but it means that they cannot process what you say, right? Here, auditory processing disorder means the ear can listen each and everything, but the wire which connects the ear with their brain, that might have been damaged or not connected, or the medical terms, right? Brain struggles to process, interpret sounds despite normal hearing. Like if a child is in a class and other students are making a lot of noises and teacher is dictating something, that child, that individual will listen that there's been something has been said, but what they said, the child is not going to interpret, right? It would be, they can't process. Again, as a result, what happened? They struggle during their exams or classroom tasks, okay? And again, we can't say this, that calls for professional diagnosis. But of course, these things are manageable. You can take just maybe flashcards, look at their learning styles. Are they tactile? And if you want to give them command, maybe you can write down the big writings, right? Big fonts, and use the pictorial help as well. Okay. Now comes visual processing disorder. Here again, I won't say that God forbid the child is blind or individual is blind. No, it's not like that. Child can see, but they cannot see what they have seen. Okay. So the picture is there on the board. He can see the picture is there, but he won't be able to differentiate between triangle, square, rectangle, oval. Now visual processing is there, right? So what are you going to do? Again, break down the task, chunk down the information for them. Individualized lesson plan, where we have to keep the material and resources in our mind when we are teaching children with VPD. Brain struggle to interpret visual information, impacting tasks like recognizing shape and spatial relationship. I hope this much is clear. Now let's come to the strategies for supporting diverse learner. These strategies goes with each and every individual who's struggling, okay? But of course, with a mix and match. You can't take all the strategies together and just put it in IEP or start using it at the same time. No, you have to first figure out where your child, where your student is standing in the learning. It's about like visual learner, auditory learner, tactile learner, they learn by reading and writing. All right. So just go through the strategies. Differentiated instruction, which I just mentioned earlier, that not the same instruction where it has a lot of text there. So try to give them instruction which is differentiated. Maybe rather than giving them a paper or assessment, you can read them out. You can give them with the big font. Now you can actually get the idea where we need big fonts with visual problem, right? And chunk down the instructions rather than giving them all together. Make it in bullet points. Like, see, if you see my slide, the information is giving in bullet points. So it's easy to remember. The targeted or the key word is given to you. Then comes the flexible grouping. Here you have to be very careful. Do not let them sit in a big, huge group where the child lost their identity, or maybe they got bullied. So flexible grouping means let them have in small groups and give them the task. Do not ignore considering that this child can't do it. No, each and every child can learn and they should learn. It's just about the proper and relevant resources and material provided to them. Now, visual support they need. This is what I said. The visual supports are pictures, okay, graphic designers. Then comes your multi-sensory teaching. It's again multi-sensory teaching helps you with like maybe you can give them sandpaper words. After that, you can give them few toys, anything where they can touch. Okay, so there are five senses which work. So let's say apple. If you want to teach a child an apple, show them apple and they can touch it. Okay, this one. Show them the picture of apple. All right. Then after that, you can ask a child to read. You need to reinforce the spelling of apple, A-P-P-L-E, apple. So it will give you the idea, okay, the learner is with the reading and writing. And another thing is audio and visual support. Assistive technology. If you see any individual struggling, assistive technology is there to assist them. Okay, so we have tool, we have gadget, we have tablets, and there are different apps as well. There are a lot of different apps which really assist students. So this is how the technology helps the individual. Positive behavior support, it's very important. Sometimes we have seen the teacher themselves are bullying the students, right? So here you have to be very careful because you are actually nurturing a raw brain. So please do not give them the trauma. Do not give them the grief or the trauma. The childhood trauma can haunt you till your adulthood. Do not let them run away from the school. It's their right to being educated. Do not bully, support them. So when you are going to tell this thing or implement this thing in your own classroom, what do you think about your student? Of course, they will learn this thing because teachers are the role model in class. If you're going to bully the child, ignore the child, your student are going to follow you for that. All right. So it's better to on and off give them a hint, okay, how to provide the peer support. We know peer support is you make other child who's bits like let's say IQ level high or who's empathetic, ask them to help out the other student who's struggling. Regular monitoring and feedback. Monitoring means observation. If you're giving those tools to them, how he's working, is he getting the idea? And if you see it's being failed, it doesn't mean that the child is failed. It means the technique we use is failed. So what are you going to do at that time? There are tons and tons of information. The learning style needs to be known. If a child is going to come to your class, please have this idea of check their learning style, right? This will help you to make their IEP, individualized education plan. Now, of course, without collaboration with specialists, it's not possible. So best is to take the professional help. Do not talk to parents directly. We don't have any right. Go and talk to your management, your principal. And of course, they are going to convey the message to the parents because they are unaware what's going around, right? And that could be a trauma for them. And of course, if you have in your school, if you have speech therapists, OT, that's occupational therapist, and ABA or BT, that's behavior therapist or applied behavior analysis, you can collaborate with them, and remedial therapists. Always try to make a team where we can work on one goal together. Your IEP should not have a lot of different goals. Try to make it long-term goals and short-term goals. Short-term goals is mostly for 1 month. If you have made 3 goals, then you come back to the IEP again and see whether it was like successful. How many goals did you achieve? If it was like 2 goals you have achieved for the month, okay, the extra goal, add it on for the next year, next month. Like if you're making for August, this time you made the IEP, you saw that the third goal wasn't achieved, for add it in the September IEP. Professional development. Here it means we, as a teacher, needs a continuous professional development courses and certification. Because without that, or just working on YouTube or watching here and there, you need to be trained and supported, and you should have enough resource in your toolkit to help your child out. And again, I would say you are going to either destroy or build a personality. All right. So thank you so much for being there. And if you have any issues, you can always just write it down on the live stream. Or if you're here listening to me, you can write it in the chat box. Thank you so much. Take care.